Hey there, it's Tuesday again, and you know what that means. It's time for comic book school. And you know what we do here? We teach you the craft and business of making comics. And sometimes we learn a few little other things along the way. Once again, Buddy won't be joining us, so you've got me, Mike Solo, and it's going to be another adventure because I'm still learning my way around this place. But tonight, we have a special guest, my good friend Brian Cunningham, writer, editor, artist, and all-around good guy. Oh, and he's also the editor-in-chief of Ghost Machine Comics. And what's Ghost Machine, you ask? Well, let's see if we can get Brian on here. He can fill us all in on everything. Hey, Bri.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
How's it going?
It's going well. Going well.
Yes. Very exciting. Very exciting to have you on here. Yeah, so you are the editor-in-chief of Ghost Machine Comics, correct?
I am.
So what is Ghost Machine?
Well, Ghost Machine is a creative collective of writers, artists coming together to co-own a company together and kind of chart their creative course on their own terms. So, we're led by such talent as Jeff Johns, Francis Manapul, Brian Hitch, Gary Frank, Brad Meltzer. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we have such an amazing crew of talent. It's incredible. I mean, the people I get to work with every day is it's kind of staggering when I actually stop and think about it.
And when did that all start? Like, when did they get going on this?
Well, we launched a one-shot in January that kind of previewed what's in store for the rollout that we planned. And last month, April, was our launch month, and May, we're headed into our second issues. In fact, tomorrow, May 8th, we have Geiger number 2. Geiger number 2 is out tomorrow. So, be sure to stop by your local comic store or buy digitally and read a good reading comic. I can guarantee I think after you put it down, you'll definitely say I read a really good comic.
Yeah, you want number 3 right away.
So do I. I want number 3 right away.
Now, are all the titles out now?
We launched with 3 titles. We launched with Geiger. We've launched with another book called Red Coat, and a third book called Rook Exodus. Geiger is by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank, who co-created the character back in 2021, and now we have this is the new ongoing series, and that's the first issue that went on sale last month. And the second book we have is called Red Coat. That's by Jeff and Brian Hitch. And the third book is called Rook Exodus by Jeff and Jason Fabok. And, all 3 books are being supported by the best team in the business in terms of color and lettering, with Brad Anderson on colors and Rob Lee on letters. And it's just an all-star team from top to bottom. I'm the only one dragging them down.
So they put you in charge.
Yeah.
Very nice. Now, this is all contained in its own world, right? This is its own universe.
Actually, at the moment, there's 4 distinct universes. Geiger and Red Coat are part of one of them, which is called the Unnamed Universe, and that has a whole that's a world in and of itself. And Rook Exodus is set within its own universe, and we're going to have later in the year we're going to introduce 2 other universes. One is we're calling Family Values, which you got a taste of it in the January one shot with 2 books called The Rockefellers and Hornsby and Halo, both written by Peter Tomasi. And he's heading, those are the Rockefellers, drawn by Francis Manapul. And then Hornsby and Halo is drawn by Peter Snaberg. And Peter is a longtime collaborator of Peter Tomasi. They've worked together a lot through the years. This is the first time that Peter Tomasi and Francis Manapul have collaborated, and they're having a blast, which is just so great to see the chemistry kind of coming through on the page. The other universe we have is a horror universe, which we're calling Hyde Street. And Hyde Street we're going to launch in October. And Jeff Johns is writing that one, and the art is being done by Ivan Rice, Danny Mickey, and Brad Anderson on colors, and Rob Lee on letters, as always.
So you got the all-star team going.
They are. I mean, it really is. It's an amazing crew, and we have a chat with the entire team, and it's just in constant flux of pings and texts and whatnot, and it's a fun bunch. Everybody gets along really well.
Nice. Now, are they going to be adding any more titles anytime soon? Or are they just going to run with these for a while and see how things go?
They're on the slate at the moment. We also have another horror book set in the Hyde Street universe called the Solace, which is by a writer who comic book folk might not be familiar with, but is a veteran TV and film writer. His name is Lamont McGee. And he is creating a very, very unique kind of monster hunter that I think he'll look completely different. He has a very distinct origin, unlike any I've ever seen. And right now we're looking at the end of the year for that, but it's all wet concrete at this point. It's coming together.
Nice. And now you, as editor-in-chief, what's your role there? Like, do you have to?
Well, I guess I wear a lot of hats, but primarily I keep the trains moving. I make sure that the comics get done. I make sure everybody all the artists have a script to work from. I give feedback on scripts or on artwork if there's anything that might need a note or something, which isn't very often, to be honest. Because these guys, these folks just know what they're doing. I also forgot, in October, in addition to Hyde Street, we have a one-shot that ties back into Hyde Street called Devour, Tales from Hyde Street, Devour. And that's being written by another TV veteran. Her name is Maytal Schutt, and it's being drawn by, I don't think we've announced it, so I probably shouldn't say yet, but but it's going to be great. And I've already seen the first few pages, and it's beyond my expectations, which were pretty high. So it's going to be a fun horror one shot. Anyway, so
you have to edit every single one of these issues.
Yeah, I read everything and give feedback, and that's the fun part of the job, really. Being able to look at all this. Getting in every day, I get in either a variant cover from somebody, or a script, or pages from one of the series. It's really, I'm like a kid in the candy store. It's just so cool seeing some of the art that these folks produce. It's really amazing.
Nice. Yeah. So you have to deal with all the artists as well. Do you give them like feedback on their like artwork or anything like that?
I do. If it warrants it. But most of the time, it's really just like trying to find new ways to express how blown away I am by it. I mean, it's just I kind of run out of adjectives and superlatives. I don't know what else to write. I mean, it got to the point on Redcoat where I was telling Brian Hitch, who throws everything and the kitchen sink onto a page, and it's a story, if it's a story set in the 1890s, I'll say, Brian, you forgot the hot dog vendor. You left out the hot dog vendor, and that's just become a running bad edit on my part. But I mean, it's fun. These folks are fun to work with.
Now, did they have this whole world set up? Did they sit down as a collective before all this got started? And we're like, this is the world we want to make? Or...
Yeah, I think the usual process, at least for the launch books, Geiger, Redcoat, and Rook Exodus, the usual way this works is Jeff has a conversation with who he's collaborating with, the artistic collaborator, and either through that conversation they figure out, okay, this sounds like a cool idea, maybe we can explore this, or Jeff will have an idea, bounce it off of them, and they'll have a conversation about it, and it will likely evolve a little from that conversation. It really is it's a very collaborative environment. So it's I mean, there's no such thing as a bad idea. So especially for these 3 launch books, Jeff's in constant contact with the artists about where he pitches them ideas, and then they riff off of that, and he'll pitch me like, hey, I talked to whoever, and what do you think of this? And we'll talk about it. But I mean, Jeff's got a pretty solid idea. I mean, he's just so intuitively good with story structure and the story emotions, that have to happen in order to kind of engage the reader. And it's just like a lot of it, I think, is just an automatic in his brain. So it just works really well.
Yeah, well, he's been doing this for quite some time.
Yeah, and that's also a great part about all these folks, is that everyone has been in the business a long time. I mean, even Jason Fabok, the Rook Exodus artist that you're seeing here, I mean, he's been in the business 10 years at least. So, I mean, everyone's had time in the trenches to kind of hone their craft, and now they're ready to invest in themselves with their own creations that they own, they can control, and reap the benefits from.
Nice. Now, is it a little strange? Do you have to give like somebody like Jeff Johns deadlines? Like, you got to have this done by next Tuesday.
Well, we're in a deadline business. So yeah, we've got to we need to hold to a schedule, because ultimately the books have to make their print deadline. They have to get printed and shipped on time, and that's a big priority for us. We are very mindful of delivering the product when we say we're going to deliver it.
Nice. And do you have are there other plans to expand this universe?
Well, yeah, if we can, we'd love to. I mean, we have a lot of ideas, and we have another, I think we have another book on the horizon in the Unnamed universe, which we're calling First Ghost. And, that's co-written by Jeff and Brad Meltzer. And, that'll probably be a 2025 book. But that's also set in the Unnamed universe. And it's also very different from Geiger, and it's very different from Redcoat. And there's the one shot back in January kind of teased some of these other characters that are in play for the future. So, if anything catches your interest, odds are we'll be doing something with them at some point in the future.
Nice. Now, at any point, are all the worlds going to come together? Do you know, or is there anything you can say about that?
Well, I can't really speak to all the worlds coming together. I mean, I'm sure it's certainly on the table. as a conversation point, but I can say that the unnamed characters, namely Geiger, Junkyard Joe, uh, Redcoat, you know, all these characters that we've kind of hinted at and teased, um, will eventually come together. It's just a matter of when. But yeah, there is a plan in place to, have them interact and mingle. Yeah, so we should keep an eye on that, because that should be really fun.
Nice. And you said that this is all coming out, or Geiger's in his second issue.
Geiger #2 is out tomorrow. Yeah, and then the a week from tomorrow we'll have Redcoat #2 out, and then the week after that is Rook Exodus #2, and then repeat.
Nice. And how did you get selected for the editor-in-chief position for this?
I wrote a lot of fawning letters.
Well, you were at DC for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it just has to do with the relationships I've built with most of these folks within the company, and we all had really positive working experiences. So I think, I don't know. I mean, I can't really say, but I mean, I think part of it is probably because I've had experience and a good relationship with it, most, if not all, of the folks within Ghost Machine. So, but I'm very fortunate, very grateful, just to be doing this job, and I never take any of this for granted, and it's special when you get to work with people of this caliber, and it's not often you get that opportunity. So I'm very lucky.
Yeah, and you worked with I'd say most of these people.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I've haven't worked with somebody. I mean, I think Lamont McGee and Maytal, I think I haven't worked with because they hadn't done comics before. They fit in great with the team. They're super talented. I can't wait for people to read their comics. It's going to be really fun. I really am excited about it.
Very nice. Yeah, and if you check out their Ghost Machine site, you can see all the comics, all the stuff that's coming out. Even have some good merch ready to go. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we have some merchandise on Threadless. I'm trying to see. Well, in our books, we have a QR code that'll take you right to the page. But yeah, if you're looking for a cool Rook shirt, or Junkyard Joe, or whatever, it'll be on that Threadless site. Hats, shirts, you name it, it'll probably be up there. So if you're interested, if you like what you see on the screen here, then maybe check it out, because it's pretty cool.
And are you ever going to start writing one of these issues?
Well, right now I'm a little busy just kind of wrangling everybody, herding cats in a way. It's just it's a lot of moving pieces. It takes up a lot of my time right now. So I never say never, but at the moment we're still building the company and just trying to get the books out.
Nice. Sounds very exciting. Yeah, the all these issues, as I was skimming through them, just checking out your website, I was like, I want to read every single one of these.
They're really fun, and they're all different.
This looks by itself looks fantastic.
Yeah, the Rook is just very different from Geiger, which is very different from Redcoat. It's of the 3 launch books, they're just different vibes. But the thing they have in common is really good story structure, really good characters, characters that you invest in and care about, because that's what, when I'm reading comics, that's what I really want to latch onto. I want to latch onto a character that I want to follow, throughout the story. So in these three books, these three books do that very well. I'm happy we launched with these books because they are very distinct and different from each other in tonality and genre.
Yeah, the I was looking at the red coat one. That's just like a very interesting idea. The guy that Revolutionary War and finds out he's immortal and
Yeah, he's quite a character. He's someone who is kind of the opposite of your heroic figure. I mean, he's selfish. He's out for himself. He, gets into a lot of trouble, dies a lot, and gets resurrected a lot. And but yet, despite all that, he's really kind of a lovable. He's a lovable character in his bald-faced honesty, that he understands this is who he is. He's a little like Han Solo at the beginning of Star Wars, like kind of, you know, that roguish anti-hero out for himself. And, you know, uh, it's just fun. He's fun to kind of follow. And in this first issue, he meets 13-year-old Albert Einstein. He'll meet all these figures of American history throughout the course of the series. He interacts with Benedict Arnold, George Washington. All these different figures. Annie Oakley. We'll see. There's lots of fun little things. If you like American history, I think you'll love this. And even if you don't, it's not presented in a like a didactic history lesson. It's really fun the way these characters kind of float in and out of the story.
You get a good story and a little bit of a history lesson. That's nice. And what about Junkyard Joe? What's he all about?
Junkyard Joe is a robot soldier with a soul. The story starts in Vietnam, where the government plants a robot in a normal platoon, and they hide him under latex, and they try to pass him off as a human being, who strangely doesn't emote or talk, is a little odd, very stoic, but he winds up soon enough saving the crew, or saving a lot of the platoon, and they see him for what he really is, a robot. And he befriends one of the platoon members. His name is Muddy Davis. And Muddy is one of those everyman kind of characters who he just finds a connection with this robot who otherwise has no emotions or anything that would necessarily lend itself to a friendship. And yet through that kind of olive branch of befriendment, I mean, he and the robot kind of make this connection, and suddenly the robot starts to, I mean, for lack of a better term, kind of grow a soul within his robot shell. And the first issue, or the first chapter, is set all in Vietnam, and then the rest of the story is all in the present day, where 70 something year old Muddy, just recently widowed, and he, for 50 years since he came back from Vietnam, created this comic strip called Junkyard Joe about a robot soldier who he thought he imagined in Vietnam. Like, how could that be real, right? And he ends this comic strip after 50 years as pop culture phenomenon, like Peanuts or Calvin and Hobbes. Junkyard Joe was this super popular comic strip that he just abruptly ends. And he's kind of lost in life in this, he's kind of lost without his partner and his wife. And suddenly he gets a knock on the door, and on his doorstep is Junkyard Joe 50 years later. Um, and the mystery of, okay, where has he been? Why is he here? What is going on? When we find out that there are other people very interested in finding Junkyard Joe, that puts Muddy and other characters in the book in very deep danger. So it's really it's a book about family. It's a book about found family, about you know uh, can a robot have a soul? And we answer those in really emotional ways. There's some really big beats, and there's really there's some violence in here that kind of you know just when you think, oh, it's a cute robot, there's really
Rip somebody's arms off.
well, there's some really graphic stuff to kind of balance out some of the cuteness of the comic strip version of Junkyard Joe. And um, you know it, it's really cool. And we first saw Junkyard Joe in the last issue of the first Geiger miniseries, where Geiger in the future fights Junkyard Joe, who is reprogrammed in the far future. So Junkyard Joe exists in both the present and in the future. So he can exist, and there's things happening in Geiger where Junkyard Joe is going to come back into the book, and has a new mission that will tie him back into Geiger. And we see him interact with Redcoat sometime in the future. So there's a lot of really fun stuff in this kind of shared universe that I think people who are fans of a shared universe would appreciate.
Yeah, yeah. And this one, what about Rook? Give me a little bit on Rook.
Rook is set in the far future where Earth has kind of self-destructed in a way, between pollution and the climate changing and evolving to make life uninhabitable on the planet. So there have been corporations going out into space, colonizing, creating artificial planets, and whatnot. And Rook starts out as a farm kid who, him and his dad just run a farm that is slowly becoming unsustainable in the new reality of Earth. And ultimately, Rook loses the farm and has to go somewhere else to make a living, to find a purpose. And he goes to this artificial planet called Exodus. And Exodus is a world where humans control all of the natural habitats, including the plants, animals, you name it. And the animals are controlled through these special helmets. And helmets are worn by people called wardens, who are trained to communicate and control in a way particular species of animals. And Rook controls a lot of the bird population. Direwolf on the left here, she controls the wolf population. But as the series starts, Exodus in itself is starting to fail. The world engine has failed, and a lot of the population, the regular population, has abandoned the planet along with the corporation that built it. And Rook and Direwolf are two of the wardens who stayed behind in order to in order to, well, I should say, Direwolf stayed behind to fight for Exodus. Rook is trying to build a spaceship to get off. He just wants to get off like everyone else, and he finds that that it is not as easy to leave Exodus as he once thought. So there's a lot of inner conflict there. And I think a lot of surprises, especially in the first issue, which is 48 pages. It's a giant first issue. Same with Red Coat 1. Red Coat 1 is also a double-sized issue. So just a lot of story. And we kept the cover price the normal price of $3.99. So, you know, you know, that's not going to change for the foreseeable future. So anyway, just three very fun books, totally different characters, different personalities, different motivations, things that you know, that drive them through the world that they inhabit. It's really fun.
Yeah, all of them sound great. Now I want to run out to a comic store and pick them all up.
I think you should.
Very, very cool. Well, Bri, that is awesome. And I'm very happy that you're editing all these and running the ship over there, making sure everything gets done.
Well, thank you. It's
and yeah, once they get some more of these out and the world's expand and all that, we'd love to have you back on just to chit chat a little more about everything that's going to be happening.
It would be my pleasure. It'd be my pleasure.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Brian. I'm gonna throw you in the green room, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All righty, folks. There we go. We got a little bit of rundown on Ghost Machine and all the cool titles that are coming out. So be sure to tell your friends and family to hit subscribe, like, and comment, and we will see you next Tuesday.